Hello there, everybody. I'm Sabanai, 2AK Nightmare, and I'm very much calmed down from the last time. So, last episode we got what I would personally consider to be probably the worst ending from this story so far. And while reasonably, I would say reasonably, I got very upset about how it went, this is... I guess I was mostly just complaining about Taku himself. Which, if that was what the novel was trying to do and make me legitimately feel upset and hate him, they certainly did a good job on that. Actually, no, the best word I could probably use is disappointed. I was very disappointed. And there were two comments that kind of popped up. It's a tough choice between me picking out which one I felt would be the best to kind of take a look at, but I think the best comment that I'm going to go ahead and use here is from Emiya Yukido. Time access, you were right, but I'm not showing favoritism, I promise! Anyway, I was really hoping we could avoid the incest, but I think, might just be me coping, that it was portrayed in an appropriately negative light. True. It showed Taku at his worst, relying on whoever he could trust more to get out of his pit of despair to avoid facing reality, so this is meant as a bad end, even if it has the feeling of a good end. Just like how Crying Sky was a delusional good end. At the same time, I like how it shows him caring for his sister for the first time, even if it ends up being to a bad degree. Really sucks for Nanami having her route be focused on a fake version of her. I know, right? She basically got Thanos snapped. True. One interesting thing I'd like to point out is that even though he made that fake Nanami, she had vague memories of the original Takumi. That kind of flew over my head initially. Like, it didn't even register like, oh crap, yeah, she's actually just a fake sister. And then I just completely forgot that she has memories of the original, like, Takumi, which is crazy. Like, that kind of puts me in the mind that maybe, like, Taku has... Well, actually, yeah, it would make sense that he probably has those residual... Actually, wait a minute, no, then how would... Oh man, delusions are fucking weird. Oh, sorry. It made me think halfway through the video that Rimi was the one who created her to stop Taku from going to O-Front and awakening as a gigalomaniac. I guess the only explanation is that because Shogun created Taku, Taku has some really buried memories from him. Yeah. I can't answer your final question because I haven't played this far, but I doubt it's going to get worse than this, at least in the sexual sense. Oh, thank God. It's off the table, at least. Never thought I'd ever write that sentence. What I can give you is an explanation for my confusion at the date on his phone. The Japanese order is year, month, day, so even though it's different from the US, it's still month before day. Okay, thank you very much for that explanation, and I would consider to be a very insightful comment. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I'm also going to read time axes because I can. Why the hell not? It may help to look at the character routes not as typical visual novel routes, which are normally like alternate takes on the story that are meant to stand on their own as endings. In this case, they're more like different lenses to look at the same story through. For this one, it's the lens of someone refusing to look at the story/reality. I'm hesitant to reassure you too much about the other routes since it's best to go in mentally prepared either way, but I can at least say that I'm fairly sure that by the time you're done with all of them, this will almost assuredly still be the one you hate the most. You know me so well, Time Axis. You know me very, very well. I sincerely doubt any of the other endings can make me hate that ending as much, make me hate their ending as much as this one. Anyway, now we're getting into the route that I'm the most intrigued in. This one is going to be the Yua route, and it looks like the delusional trigger takes place again in Chapter 1, and this one requires a neutral response. It says, I felt bad. Alright. So, let's start skipping, because it looks like the Ayase route takes the triggers at Chapter 2, so... Skip! Alright, immediately we've already reached this point. Okay, so this is the one that says, let's see, for the Yo route, I felt bad. We have to go neutral for this. And then, looks like the answer prompt is no, no, yes, yes, yes. All right. I'm assuming it's going to be, yep, it's the one on the board. Here we go. All right. No, it's not a coincidence. It's making it up. It's all in my head. No, I'm not making it up. The new gen killer is somewhere in this school. Yes! Whoever wrote this is trying to provoke me. Yes. Wait a minute, I'm already not liking this. If this is supposed to be the UR route, I don't like it. I should erase it, yes. Oh, discovered Yua's story. Misumi-kun walked up to me, grabbed my shoulder, and gave me a good shake. 聞いてる? おい, Aoku. Be quiet, Battler! I'm panicking! I'm being paranoid! It must have just been a common phrase or something. In other words, it was just a stupid, pointless scribble. I tried to tell myself that, but I still couldn't calm down, so in the end, I just went up and erased it, moving quickly so that nobody would notice. Okay, this is where I'm a little bit scared, because with these sort of thing, now I feel like there's going to be some really bad stuff here, and it's probably going to result in Yua's death, and I'm not looking forward to that. I really hope that's not the case. Like, please, I want there to be good focus on Yua, because I actually like Yua. Oh, and now we're getting back into the skippage territory. Ah, more bloodiness! My favorite! Oh, hello. Shibuya Station was a much different place in the early morning than it was later in the day. Young people were scarce, and the countless businessmen, following a jarring ride on the crowded trains, rushed out of the station and scattered every which way into Shibuya. It was a place marked by indolence, yet engulfed by an air of restlessness. The students of Sume Academy carried that with them as well. However, the number of them present was rather sparse. Shibuya Station was about 20 minutes away from Sume by foot, and on top of that, part of the route was an uphill trek via Dogenzaka. Wait a minute, I don't think we're in his perspective again. Most Sume students taking the train would depart the stop nearest to the academy, Shinsen Station. Kusunoki Yua, meanwhile, took on the unnecessary task of walking from Shibuya Station. Waking up early for this did not cause any headaches for her. The heart of Shibuya was often suffocatingly crowded, but as soon as one began to climb up Dogenzaka, the number of pedestrians dropped sharply. Taking the extra time to walk and breathe in the refreshing morning air was something Yua quite enjoyed. Part of the reason why she chose to walk from Shibuya Station was to see the news displayed on the jumbotrons above Scramble Crossing. As she waited for the pedestrian signal to change, Yua peered up at O-Front's jumbotron, just as she always did. And upon doing so, she gasped in shock. The captions running across the screen before her had taken her breath away. The headline read, "Third New Gen Incident." A certain boy's face rocketed to the forefront of her mind. A boy whom she did not know, nor had she ever spoken with. But it was a face she had seen the previous morning at school. Although for Yua, that was evidence enough to convince her that he was the true culprit behind New Gen. What the fuck? Yua could recall the events of the previous morning vividly. 7 a.m., Sume Private Academy. Yua marched quickly through the empty halls. It seemed that no others had arrived yet. Her expression rigid, she gazed straight ahead without faltering. Without a hint of restraint in her stride, Yua advanced forward, onward, stopping only once she arrived at a certain classroom. The sign which framed the room number read 2C. Following a quick gaze to confirm her destination, Yua slid the door open without hesitation. 2C was not her homeroom. As a third year, she should have had no reason to even set foot in there. Absolutely no reason at all. That was how it would be under normal circumstances, at least. But right then, she had a specific goal in mind. After methodically scanning the empty classroom, Yua approached the blackboard. She perused the selection of chalk colors for a brief moment before picking up a pristine white piece. Then, using intentionally poor handwriting, she wrote a single sentence onto the blackboard. So she's the one that wrote that message. She whispered the words to herself after writing them. Gently placing the chalk back down, she surveyed the room once more. Her whispers continued, for nobody to hear but herself.
もしも慌てて消そうとするなら、それはつまり。
You gotta, that's right. So this is interesting. So right now, she has this inclination that Taku is a new gen killer, even though she's never met him or anything like that. With the way the screen is putting on, my thought process is that this was a subliminal suggestion that was put into her head, which is why she eventually becomes so focused on trying to prove that it was him who is the new gen killer. In the silence of the empty classroom, her intimidating voice echoed.
あなたが殺したっていう証拠よ。隠れて見ているから。私は見ているから。あなたは私の顔なんて全く知らないだろうけど、私は知ってるわ。知ってるの。あなたの顔を知ってる。だから私はあなたを見ている。
Who's the voice actress for Yua? Because my god, she does a great job.
黒板に書かれたこの文を見て、あなたがどんな態度を取るのか、ちゃんと見ておくから。え、西條匠くん。
Yua forcefully bit her lip. After she had finished her task, Yua made her way to the roof to kill time until the students of 2C finally arrived. Then, 10 minutes before the bell rang, Yua returned to the hallway. Peering in through the door, she kept an eye out for anyone who might react to her inscription of, "Whose eyes are those eyes?" And, just as she had predicted, a certain panicked schoolboy was the one to erase the words. One look at his face and she could tell exactly who it was. Nishijo Takumi.
私は知ってるわ。知ってるの。あなたよ。あなたしかいない。
She muttered those words to herself, only for them to be drowned out by a speaker mimicking the sound of pigeons cooing. That don't sound like a fucking pigeon, I think. The pedestrian signal at the scramble had changed colors. The massive wave of pedestrians collectively ceased their standstill and began moving once more. However, Yua remained where she was, paying no heed to the possibility that she may be in the way of those trying to cross. She simply stood in place, focusing all her attention on the subtitles that appeared up on the Jumbotron. Okay, can we have more of that, please? Can we just have, like, more of that where it's just focused on Yua? Like, I would heavily... Hi, Nanami! I don't have the best opinion of what's going on with you right now. Fuck it, we are not even in this timeline. We are not dealing with that. Farewell, you are... We have already taken care of your route. We never have to worry about that ever again. Goodbye. Oh, shit. Okay. All right. Kusunoki Yua was born with a twin sister. However, she had died 1 month ago. It had been ruled a suicide. The two were like a pair of couple necklaces, incomplete without one another. Their bond simply was not comparable to that of ordinary sisters. Also, what is that, that little poster you got on your wall there, Yua? Angela Live? Lervo. I kind of want to see what that full poster looks like. The shock of her death left Yua feeling as if she were only half the person she once was. That was how much she adored her twin sister. When she heard the news, an endless waterfall of tears sprang forth from her eyes. She collapsed onto her sister's bed, desperately searching for the girl who had been living there until only yesterday. Why did she have to die? Yua searched for an answer at all, but found none. It wasn't really suicide. She would never kill herself. Somebody must have murdered her. These thoughts only fueled the flame of her grief. Maybe, Yua thought, maybe she left behind a message that nobody's found yet? Tormented by feelings of guilt, she began rummaging through her sister's possessions. When she did, she found a single diary, and within it were the words, "Whose eyes are those eyes?" This was a clear cry for help from her sister. Even so, Yua had no idea what that phrase meant. With nothing to lose, she decided to search for it online. Among the results, she discovered a single essay. Also, I'm kind of looking at the names. Yotsuhashi Harasada, Totsuka Ginai, Morote Miki, Hosokawa Kozu, Nishijo Takumi. One that had been entered into the National Elementary School Writing Contest. It was a competition that had been held 6 years ago by the Ministry of Education, and the title of one of the winning essays was, Whose Eyes Are Those Eyes? The author's name was written beside the essay title. While the kanji could be read in multiple ways, the correct reading was clarified. Nishijo Takumi, a 5th grade elementary schooler at the time. That's how she got it in her head that he was the killer. Okay, you know what? Fair enough. No, I get it. No, I completely understand how her line of thinking would lead her to that. However, that was where the trail went cold. She had no idea what connection Nishijo Takumi had with her sister's death. That kind of reminds me of the time that I wrote a poem whenever I was in 1st grade, and that got put into a book. Then came an incredible coincidence. It was rather common for Yua to pass by Shoto Park on her way to school. And in that park about twice a week, she would spot a lonesome schoolboy eating bread. As Yua observed him in his time of solitude, she somehow grew fond of seeing him. On her way to school one day, Yua happened to run into a friend of hers at the station. The two of them decided to walk together, eventually coming across the boy on the bench. Upon seeing him, her classmates spoke up.
あいつ、2年の西条っていう子らしいよ。弟が同じクラスでさ、引きこもりのキモオタなんだって。クスノキ、あんなやつに興味持つのやめときなよ。
One of those shut-in otaku freaks. Nishijo. The characters in his name would normally be read as Saijo. For it to be read as Nishijo was an anomaly. There was no way it was a mere coincidence. This is probably something that would make more sense if I was more familiar with kanji and stuff like that, or the Japanese language. As soon as she could, Yua got her hands on the list of second-year Sume Academy students. And there it was. That name. Nishijo Takumi. Still, the shared name would not stand on its own as decisive evidence. It too could be merely coincidental. So Yua decided to put her theory to the test. Whose eyes are those eyes? She wrote those words on the blackboard and watched as he trembled in fear. That was not the end of it either. Leaked eyewitness reports from the crucifixion incident, which claimed a Sume Academy student was spotted fleeing the scene, exploded across the internet. Yua had all the evidence she needed. Nishijo Takumi was a suspect, and he very well could have been the one who had murdered her sister. Skip. Hey! That's right, it's time for the skippage! The skippage! All right, the infamous reveal. Time for some throat strangling? I got you! Alright, now we're in chapter 2. I'm pretty sure nothing's really going to change until we get to where, I don't know, some of the actual severe story stuff takes place, so... Oh, she got her glasses back. Ah, I gotta answer this shit again. What would happen if I put everything on? Actually, you know what? I'm legitimately curious. Just for this route, I know this is probably not gonna have any sort of effect. I am really curious. What's gonna happen if I pick everything? Like, we're just gonna... I am legitimately curious. What's gonna happen if I pick everything? I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some people that are like, what happens? Gigalomaniac, delusion synchro rate 100% achievement. Okay, let's see. You are completely and utterly delusional. It's very possible that you can no longer live without your delusions. You constantly fall in love with two-dimensional characters and you wish you could walk straight into your computer screen. Real life will never be fulfilling to you. It's too late, but there's no need to feel guilty about it. It doesn't matter what everyone else thinks. Surrender yourself fully to your delusions, to your imagination. As long as you're happy, nothing else matters. I ask that you stay cognizant of your own health. Always make sure to eat, take care of yourself when you're sick, and take care of yourself in general. As long as you do that, you may continue living your blissful, luscious, delusional life, where you never have to worry about the pain of reality again. Your delusions shall never betray you. A word from Takumi! Did you know? If you stay a virgin till you turn 30, you become a wizard and get magic powers. That's why 3D sucks shit. It's totally worthless. The girlfriend that lives inside your head is the best kind of girlfriend after all. Everyone knows that. Holy shit. Okay, that's funny. Oh, that's great. Ha. Yes, I got the worst possible. I can't even be mad at that. That kind of makes me happy that they had an option like, well, what happens if you pick everything? Oh, you're fucking delusional, dude. You're so delusional, Takumi left you a note. Well, how's that make you feel? All right, we are in chapter 6 now, so this should be another moment where, I think Takumi gets the, threats. Oh, wait, no, that's actual Shogun. Okay, so... no delusions about this one. Okay, there's the moment that she falls, and she's saved because flowers. Alright, so we are officially getting to the point where now we're going to be starting to see some actual story changes. So far, it's really been following the main route that I experienced. Like, so far there's not really been much of a change. At the moment. We've just kind of seen a couple of things through Yua's perspective. So now I'm kind of wondering, because right here's the moment where we get the reveal of the chopped off bloody hand. It really does seem like Nanami gets the short end of the stick in damn near every route, doesn't it? Handy! It might just because it really is just kind of playing out the same, and then maybe it'll actually change, possibly? I don't know. We'll just have to play it by ear and keep going, I guess. Oh yeah, there's a friendly little photo you got with the two girls. Oh, fuck you, dude. Anyway. Okay, we are in chapter 8. Alright, now it looks like we're finally seeing some new stuff here. Okay. Initiated by Mose, a meeting was slated to be held at Frisia Credit Bureau, a meeting to which Bond was now running nearly half an hour late for. Sorry, Mimose. Mimose's angry voice hurled into him as he entered the office. In response to this, Bond gave a minor shrug, then proceeded to walk up to the desk of Frisia's president with an amiable smile on his face. He had not brought any refreshments today, something he was beginning to believe may have been a lapse in judgment. Don't care where he is. Nah, the Noah Project, clearly. Reading manga doesn't count as research. Ah, he was going for the shoujo manga. That... Bon! Thank you. Mimose promptly smacked Bon over the head, stopping his opportunistic grin in its tracks. The sheer speed with which she had turned her wrist made the slap especially fierce.
いつまでもバカなこと言ってんじゃないわよ、エロ親父。
And that's why Momose is best girl.
冗談だって。
And Bon is, well, I still like Bon. He's basically Japanese Columbo. Before arriving at the building, Bon had made a private request to Momose. It entailed setting up a meeting between him and a certain person connected to the new gen cases. Rather than anything work-related, it was merely to satiate a personal curiosity. He was not planning on talking about anything related to the new gen investigations for the time being. And due to his position, Bond could not simply meet with the person on his own. Else he would risk drawing the ire of the detectives he was getting ahead of. Momose urged Bond over to a corner of the office. It was a fairly cramped space, almost all of which was already taken up by shelves packed full of files. The location was used as a reception area of sorts, and a pair of love seats had been wedged into the only place they could fit. Bond entered the section after Momose, and his eyes landed upon a lone girl sitting in one of the love seats. The girl was wearing a Sume Academy uniform. Her head and shoulders were curved toward the ground, and she looked incredibly haggard.
ごめんね。お待たせしちゃって。
The girl looked up in startlement upon hearing Momose. In the process, her glasses had slipped down her nose a bit, leading her to swiftly readjust them with her finger.
あ、いえ、平気です。
Kinda reminds me, I need to go to the eye doctor soon. When she saw Bond, her expression turned slightly fearful before bowing her head in greeting a moment later. Bond felt somewhat hurt by this. He had made every attempt to look as non-threatening as possible in both bearing and appearance, but the girl's reaction made him realize that despite his best efforts, the ferocity and intimidation particular to detectives was seeping out all the same. Looks like I've still got a lot more practicing to do, he thought with a bitter amusement as he sat across from Yua.
Kusunoki Yua-san だね。
はい。
亡くなったミヤさんの双子の姉。それで間違いないかな。
Yua slightly adjusted her posture, then returned a nod. The first New Gen incident, the group dive. Among the 5 high schoolers that had leapt to their deaths was a girl named Kusunoki Miya.
まあ、そんな緊張しなさんな。君を取り調べようなんて思っちゃねえんだ。雑談程度に思ってよ。本題に入る前に、ちょっと聞いていいかい？ユアちゃんは妹さんが亡くなったことについてどう思う？
Immediately starting with the serious stuff.
ちょっとバンちゃん。
あ、悪いね。職業病ってやつか。気を使うような言い方できなくってな。ただ、気になってたんだ。捜査本部でも話題になってたんだが、楠木美也さんの遺族は奇妙だって。
Yeah, they pretended that she didn't exist.
ばあちゃん。
いえ、いいんです。
Before Momose could rise to her feet over Bond's insensitive comment, Yua stopped her.
私もおかしいって思いますから。
はあ。
集団ライブで飛び降りた5人には自殺する理由なんてなかった。家族や友人はみんなそう主張している。だが、ミヤさんの家族だけは違った。
Bond took his fan out from his belt and began cooling himself.
何も主張しなかった。あっさり受け入れたって聞いてる。あまりに何も言わなさすぎて奇妙だったってな。
Mm-hmm.
なんでだい？
お父さんもお母さんもミヤちゃんが死んでからおかしくなっちゃったんです。
Anguish seeped from Yua's voice.
最初はミヤちゃんの事件の知らせを受けた日はそれでも泣いていたんです。お父さんもお母さんもとても辛そうでした。でも次の日の朝、なぜか2人は楽しそうに笑っていたんです。ミヤちゃんが死ぬ前と全く同じに戻ってたんです。 たった1日で。私、わけがわからなくて。2人はミヤちゃんのこと忘れようとしてるんじゃないかって思って。そうしたらお父さんが笑いながら「お前に妹なんていないよ」って。
Now, again, I know we're kind of going over this again, but my thought process is like this was probably either a defense mechanism, like they just pretend that she didn't exist to avoid facing reality, or they might have been affected by the they might have been affected by the people associated with Noah. Like maybe their memories were fucked with.
ミヤちゃんが残した洋服とか靴とかを見せても全然取り合ってくれないんです。それはお前のために予備で買ってあったものだって。そうやってお父さんたちはニュースからも警察の話からも目を背けて、記憶からミヤちゃんのことを消し去ろうとしてるんです。
つまり双子じゃなかったことに。
それで警察にもうちは一人っ子だって言って追い返してたわけか。
私とミヤちゃんは一卵性で、見た目は瓜二つなんですけど、あの子は、妹は親から嫌われていました。あの子はいつも自分の気持ちを押し殺して私のことを一番に考えてくれていたんです。
As Yua spoke, memories from when Mia had still been alive resurfaced in her mind. Oh, we get to see this again? First came a memory from when the two had still been in elementary school. One day, some relatives had brought the girls a single large teddy bear as a present. In contrast to the raw joy Yua displayed, Mia insisted that she did not like stuffed animals, and proceeded to not even so much as look at the plush's way. Both her relatives and parents were upset with Mia for not acting as a child should. But despite Mia's protesting, Yua whispered to her that the two of them could share it. That it could be something they could both treasure. However, in response to her sister's kindness, Mia simply said that she did not want it and that Yua could have it. About a month later, when Yua had grown tired of the teddy bear, she woke up in the night and happened to witness a certain scene. With an incredibly joyful look on her face, Mia was hugging and talking to the bear plushie. This was the first time Yua had ever seen her sister so happy. And from this, she realized that her sister's insistence about being disliking stuffed animals had been a lie. Mia had been keeping her own feelings hidden, all for the sake of her older sister. The next day, Yua found a lovely drawing of a bear beneath Mia's pillow. Until her sister grew tired of the teddy bear, Mia had been hugging and sleeping with the drawing in lieu of it. Things very similar to this happened again and again all over the 18 years they had spent together. For their birthday celebrations, Yua had always blown the candles out on the cake, but when Mia was prompted to do it, she would say, "I refuse to do something so ridiculous," angering her parents. Yua advanced to the private high school Sume Academy. Mia, meanwhile, had been misbehaving at school, deliberately scoring lower on exams, and thereby moved on to a public high school. Due to the exorbitant fees, their parents would have only been able to afford sending one of them to a private school. No matter how hard Yua would try to let her sister have something, Mia would always gain the upper hand and force Yua to be prioritized. To achieve this end, she even intentionally took a dislikable attitude.
私は結局ミヤちゃんの優しさに甘えて、今まで自分だけいい思いをしてきました。ミヤちゃんがいなくなって初めて、もっとあの子のために何かできることがあったはずだってすごく後悔して、私が代わりに知ってあげればよかった。しかも挙句に親に存在そのものを忘れられてしまうなんて、こんなの半 しいです。
Yua, having now reached her limit, could no longer squeeze out any more words. She took off her glasses, pressed her fingers against the corners of her eyes, and broke down in tears. Momose sat down beside her and gently rubbed her back.
それでユアちゃんは一人で事件のことを調べていたらしいの。
I don't care if this is stuff that we've already seen before. This is just solidifying why I kind of am more interested in Yua than any of the other characters.
ミアちゃんに一体何があったのか知るためにね。
そりゃ大変だったろう。
そして一人の人物を突き止めた。
あ
As Momose held Yua's shoulder, she turned her eyes towards Bon.
西条匠くんよ。
Nishijo Takumi!
なるほどね。
Stroking the stubble on his chin, Bon leaned forward from the sofa.
いつだったか西条と追跡劇をしてたっていう女子高生の話を所轄のデカから聞いたんだが、もしかしてユアちゃんだったりする？
Yua nodded apologetically.
興味あるな。詳しく聞かせてもおうと思ったけどちょっとごめんよ。
With a strained smile, Bon lightly bowed his head to Yua and Momose. His words had been interpreted by the cell phone in his suit pocket. He swiftly took out the phone and checked the screen. Sua's name was displayed across it.
もしもし、どうした？
先輩、7番目っす。
Bitch called him right after he finished his job, probably. Like, okay, so let's see, that's number 7. Ah, right, I better call Bon. Okay, let me get my act together. Okay.
なんだと？
Sua's voice sounded strained. The sounds of investigators frantically scurrying about could be heard through the phone. Sua must have been at the investigation headquarters.
ニュージェネ第7の事件が起きたんすよ。
Bon's eyes opened wide, and his expression turned bitter as his teeth sank into his lip. Sensing the seriousness of the situation from his behavior, Momose and Yua watched the detective with unease.
ガイシャは3人、友人同士らしいっす。
Oh, right, the 3 that got their asses kicked.
3人とも胴体から体が切断されてて、それぞれの上半身と下半身を別々に入れ替えてテグス、釣りとっすね。それで縫い付けられてたっす。
Oh, yeah.
それと額にそれぞれ Q、D、N って読める傷が。
Fucking forgot about that. That's right.
何かのメッセージか？
さあ、そこまでは。それと気になることが。司法解剖の結果分かったんですけど、ガイシャの胴体の切断部はノコギリとか包丁とかそういう刃物で切断されたものじゃないって。
どういう意味だ？
なんか強い力で引きちぎられたそうっす。
引きちぎられた。
Bon repeated Sua's words back to him with a low groan, then roughly scratched his head with the handle of his fan.
まるで怪獣だ。あるいは最近流行りの魔法使いとかな。
Oh, that was the one where he did it. That was the one. That's right. We saw that. That's right. He summoned like that gigantic fucking monster with delusions.
先輩、それマジで言ってんすか？映画オタクの自分でもさすがにその意見には同意しかねるっす。
Sure.
あんなの例えだ、バカな。いいから、さっさと捜査に戻れ。
After barking that order to Sua, Bon ended the call. Yeah, that's right. That was the one where he split those people in half with a giant monster that he summoned. By the time Yua finished up with Bon and Momose and left Frisia, the sky had long since been covered by a thick veil of darkness. During the time she had spent there, Yua had explained all the suspicions she had gathered from her investigation of Nishijo Takumi. Bon was a detective, and Mose was the head of a private investigation agency. If she could get the two of them on her side, then perhaps Nishijo Takumi would finally be arrested. That was what Yua had been hoping for. Nishijo Takumi needed to be arrested. Yua had sympathy for the boy's painful circumstances, so she would have preferred it if he had turned himself into the authorities, but since he had refused to do so, she had no choice but to get the police involved. That had been her plan at any rate. But much to her surprise, Detective Bon had told her that Nishijo Takumi had been removed from the list of suspects. Yua found this news absolutely unbelievable. She did not want to accept it. But why had her theory been dismissed? It was blatantly obvious that Nishijo Takumi was behind Newgen. Biting down hard on her lip, Yua increased her pace as she hurried toward the station. She had to return home as quickly as possible, investigate the case from top to bottom, and find some conclusive evidence. And with that evidence, she would be able to prove her theory correct to Detective Bon.
あれ楠木さんところのお嬢さんじゃないっすか。
No! The sudden sound of her name startled Yua, stopping her dead in her tracks. The words of her homeroom teacher came to mind. Shibuya has become all too dangerous lately. Women really shouldn't be out alone at night right now. Remembering that warning, Yua froze completely. The voice she had just heard belonged to a rather friendly-looking young man. Get away from her!
確かユアちゃんっすよね。
You stay the fuck away from her! She felt she had seen him somewhere before, but at the moment could not remember exactly where.
覚えてないっすか。自分巣は守るって言います。ほら、こういうものっすよ。
Making sure that only Yua could see it, the man took out his police badge and showed it to her, then quickly shoved it back inside his suit pocket.
集団ダイブの後、一度楠木さんのお宅に伺ったことはありますよ。その時にユアちゃんともいろいろお話ししたんすけどね。
Ah, I bet it. Oh, so you were the one that was with the family. So you're probably the one that fucked up their heads and made them forget that they had that there was another girl in the family.
すいません、思い出しました。その説はどうも。
Yua bowed her head. The incident had really shaken her to her core, so much that she genuinely could not recall Sua's face. However, their talk back then had indeed helped Yua sort out her thoughts regarding the bizarre nature of her sister's death, and for that she was truly grateful to him.
さっきまでバン刑事と一緒だったんじゃないっすか。
バンさんとお知り合いなんですか？
そりゃ同じ警視庁捜査一課っすから。自分の先輩っすよ。いつも怒られてます。よっぽど若い女の子と話せるのが嬉しかったんすね。ここだけの話っすけど、今日ユアちゃんと会うって自分に教えてくれた時の先輩、鼻の下伸ばしちゃってどう見てもスケベ親父って感じだったっす。
Oh, you're now trying to make you slime ball. You're trying to make her not be on Bon's side with that fucking lie.
できれば自分も同席したかったんすけど、捜査から抜け出せなくて。
You clever little sneak.
そうそう、ユアちゃんのご両親には連絡行ってるんすかね。多分行ってると思うんすけど。どうかな。
連絡と言いますと？
ああ、いや、集団ダイブのね、犯人が使ったと思われる遺留品が見つかったんすよ。
本当ですか？
Oh god, I already hate this. Oh, sorry. Anytime Sua is on screen, I'm just like, oh god, I hate him. It was the first Yua had heard of this. With all hesitation now evaporated, she stepped closer to Sua. He's just dangling that carrot right in front of her.
どんなものだと思うっすか？ま、最近別の事件でマスコミが散々取り上げてるんで有名だと思うんすけど。なんと、ダーススパイダーのヘルメットっす。
Darth Spider helmet.
それを集団ダイブの犯人もかぶっていたんですか？
そう。ネットに事件の様子を撮影したビデオが流出したっすよね。 あれを解析した結果分かったんすよ。それにしてもダーススパイダーといえば例の渋谷エスパー騒動の少年が有名っすよね。西条匠くんでしたっけ。
Oh my god, he is like filling in the he is, oh my god. Yeah, he is lining up everything to make Yua suspect him so much more, because he's gonna drop off, oh, by the way, there was a Darth Spider thing around that building where Nishijo Takumi was. Kind of funny, don't you think?
なんで彼が集団ダイブの犯人と同じようにダーススパイダーのヘルメットを持ってたんすかね。
Oh my god, I hate you! The moment she heard those words, dark impulses began to flood Yua's heart. She had been completely convinced. She had only begun feeling it a few moments ago, that all she needed was one piece of decisive evidence, one piece to prove herself to Bon and Momose, and now she had it.
さてと、それじゃあ自分フリージアに行くんで、この辺で失礼します。
I already did what I needed to just dangle the carrot and make you do something impulsive. That's all I needed to do. Bye-bye. Bitch! And with that, Sua waved goodbye and left. All by herself now, Yua stared down at the pavement, utterly paralyzed.
彼だわ。
Her murmurs were to no one but herself.
彼なの。やっぱり彼だった。彼しかいない。彼に間違いない。彼が妹を殺したのよ。
And just like that, she's lost it.
彼がミアを殺したのよ。
Oh my god, Sua, I hate you! I hate you so much! You. Okay. Yo. Hey, Neidhart-kun, I've been waiting for you, because there's been another new gen. What are you even on about? Insert ASCII art here. What the fuck? New gen, dude. What the fuck do you think I'm on about? How exactly do we go from new gen to nude gen? New generation, new gen, nude gen, new gen. Come on, that shit's obvious. Use common sense for fuck's sake. More importantly, there's a seventh case. The seventh case. It happened again. Another new gen. How long was this damn thing gonna go on for? Was I next? Would I be the victim of the eighth case? The ninth? Anxiety aside, Grimm was pretty much the new gen news guy at this point. He'd been keeping me in the loop about basically everything. Even now, he was going out of his way to link a bunch of blog posts and news articles about it. Seemed like he really wanted me to take a look. Biting my lip, I reluctantly clicked the first link. Seventh new gen case dubbed the DQN puzzle. On November 4th at approximately 4:50 a.m., the dead bodies of 3 men were discovered hanging from an iron pole near a railroad in Shibuya, Tokyo. The deceased have been identified as 19-year-old Fujita Kohei, unemployed, 21-year-old Anzawa Sobro, a college student, and 19-year-old Takage Ryo, a construction worker. According to the police, the bodies were severed half the waist, but the wounds do not indicate the use of any sharp weaponry. Furthermore, the bottom halves of each of the bodies were interchanged with one another, forming new combinations which were likely tightly sewn back together with thread. Carved into each body were the letters DQ and N, respectively. The police are investigating the possibility that this may be a message left behind by the culprit. On the popular anonymous online message board @channel, images of the incident were leaked prior to official coverage of the events. It has already been accepted as the 7th case of the new generation madness, aka New Gen, and it was christened the DQN puzzle, due to the manner in which the top and bottom halves of the corpses were recombined. Notably, on @channel, the term DQN means an individual lacking basic common sense. Regarding the serial New Gen cases, the mourning families of the victims have been taking legal action against some particularly offensive posts on @channel, a move which has sparked fierce debate online. Posted 3:27 p.m. Zako Zako. I kind of stopped reading. My cat is like poking at the little. She's like poking her head in the crack of my door. She's kind of staring at me right now. What are you doing? Yeah, I'm talking to you. What are you doing? Ah, there she is. Oh my goodness. Yeah, now they're talking shit about the DQN puzzle. Ugh!
今日午前4時50分ごろ、東京都渋谷区の線路沿いで男性3人の他殺死体が鉄柱に吊り下げられているのを通りかかった新聞販売員の男性が発見しました。
Yeah. Oh, now I'm actually looking at the photo. Holy shit, that's fucked up.
警察の調べによりますと、殺されたのはいずれも渋谷区に住む無職藤田康平さん、大学生の安沢三郎さん、とび職の高木亮さんの3人です。3人とも胴体の部分が切断され、それぞれの上半身と下半身が別々に入れ替えられて糸で縫合されていました。3人の額にはそれぞれ謎の傷がつけられており、警察では犯人からのメッセージではないかとみて調べています。渋谷では2ヶ月ほど前から猟奇殺人事件が頻発しており、警察では今回の事件も同一犯による犯行の可能性が高いとみて捜査を続けています。
Well, you're kind of fucked talking to me, buddy. At the end of the news clips, photographs of the 3 victims were shown. I had seen those faces before.
あいつらだ。昨日僕に絡んできた。
I'd given them my wallet, but they'd kicked my ass anyway. My cat just bit my hand. Why do you do that? I'd then fallen unconscious, and when I woke up, Kozupi was beside me. The 3 of them had been collapsed on the ground, covered in blood. I dug my wallet out from my pocket and stared at it intently. When I came to, Kozupi had been carrying it, and she'd given it back to me soon after. Could the person who'd killed those 3 be... No, definitely not. The last time I'd seen them, they had been beaten to a pulp and covered in blood, but they hadn't been cut in half or anything. Which would mean they'd been killed after Kozupi and I had left. It had to have been Shogun after all. Was he trying to provoke me? Was I next? Would I be the next one to die? It was also possible that Shogun could show up in person again. He seemed to be playing with me like it was some kind of game after all. Maybe he'd feel like sending me on another quest soon. Just the thought alone terrified me. Rimi, save me, please. Where did you go? Weren't you supposed to protect me? Just now, there'd been a knock at the door. Someone was there. I looked at the clock on my PC. It was past 8 p.m. Who in their right mind would show up this late? Wait, Rimi, it had to be her! She'd finally come to save me! She said she would stay by my side, hadn't she? So it only made sense that she'd come back to me. Would it have killed her to come a little earlier, though? Feeling like my salvation was at hand, I practically threw myself at the door. I then removed the padlock and opened the door. I tried to call Rimi's name, but a hand suddenly clamped my mouth shut. Panic instantly overwhelmed me. I didn't even have the chance to see who it was. I tried forcing the hand off of my mouth, but before I could, my attacker threw all their weight against me and I staggered backward. Still, I desperately tried to stand my ground. I flailed my arms around wildly, thinking it'd somehow help me break their grasp. I then opened my mouth wide and bit down on their hand as hard as I could. But despite that, my attacker remained silent. They weren't even fazed. I'd bitten down with all of my strength, so they must have been in pain, but they still didn't let go. They pressed against me even harder, causing me to lose my balance. No longer able to resist, I fell to the floor with them on top of me. The back of my head hit the ground so hard I nearly lost consciousness. Oops. Oopsie doopsie, I think I just... my vision started to go blurry, and I couldn't tell how exactly I'd landed. And to top it off, the assailant was still covering my mouth, so tightly in fact that I could barely breathe. My consciousness was starting to fade, so before I blacked out, I desperately tried to get a glimpse of the person who'd attacked me. Oh? Oh? Yua! Oh god, I completely forgotten about her! I was so focused on Shogun, his #1 underling, slipped my mind! Realizing that, the sheer terror sent shivers down my entire body. I struggled as hard as I could, desperately trying to escape. But under the full weight of her body, I couldn't move an inch. Under normal circumstances, I would have been focused on the fact that our bodies are pressed together, but I lacked the capacity for that right now. Now wasn't the time to be drooling over female contact! There was only one thing on my mind. I needed to get away somehow, or she'd kill me. Blood trickled out of Yua's hand where I'd bitten her. Even so, she kept pressing down with all of her might, her grip just as intense as when she'd first grabbed hold of me. She was trying relentlessly to keep my jaw shut, to the point where her nails were digging into my cheeks. A sharp, stabbing pain pierced through my body. Her mutters came between ragged breaths, much to my horror. I had to keep resisting, so I grabbed Yua's long hair and pulled hard. But Yua still didn't budge. All she did was grimace. Using her free hand, she gripped my hand tightly and dug in her nails once again. The immense pain forced me to let go, and then using that tiny opening, she pinned my hands to the floor. We're gonna need to clean out that wound on your hand there, Yua. Just gonna say that right now. Just need to kind of get that cleaned out a little bit. Yua's glasses had slipped down her nose during the fight. Tears were welling up behind them, likely from the pain of me pulling her hair. No, that wasn't the case. Just like that day at Shoto Park, she was staring right through me with those cold, sharp eyes. What the hell is she talking about? Was it the same bullshit as always, calling me the new gen killer? I haven't killed anyone! You came here to kill me, you dumb bitch! I tried to glare back at Yua, but hers was just too terrifying to confront. Nothing good would come from making eye contact with dangerous people, and I soon came to realize how true that was, how unhinged a look could really be. I looked away, wishing from the depths of my soul that I'd wake up from this nightmare, but... Yua brought her face in even closer. I could feel her ragged breaths on my cheeks. With how close she was, it was practically impossible to look anywhere else. Her breath was incredibly hot. I wanted to headbutt her, but Yua was pressing down so hard I couldn't even lift my head off the floor. Oh, that's right. She's gone this working theory that we have a split personality, and that split personality is the killer. DID. Multiple personalities, in other words. When we were at Cafe, Yua had said the same thing. But that was just some stupid fucking delusion of hers. She didn't know shit, and she sure as hell didn't know me better than I did. I don't need to understand shit! I didn't fucking kill anyone! I don't have multiple personalities! That's the kind of shit you only see in anime and manga and shit. This is real life. I don't have DID, goddammit!
私はあなたと話がしたいの。聞こえているんでしょう、将軍。
I'm not Shogun! You got the wrong guy! Shogun is someone else! I've even met him, for fuck's sake! He uses a wheelchair. He appears out of thin air like some kind of ghost. He's always reading my mind like some sick fucking pervert, and despite having the voice of a kid, he's covered in wrinkles like an old man! He's my enemy. Don't lump me in with him! Just the thought makes me want to puke! Wait, wasn't Yua supposed to be Shogun's underling? I could have sworn she was working for him. But it really did seem like she genuinely had me and Shogun mixed up.
西条君、自重して。あなたは少し眠っていて。
Oh my god!
将軍にその体を渡して。
Even if I do go to sleep, that won't fucking happen. I don't have multiple personalities, you stupid fucking bitch! I tried my hardest to say all of that to her, but since her hand was still pressed firmly against my mouth, the best I could do was make a bunch of muffled groans.
出てきなさい。出てきて。出てきて。出られないの。出てこられるはずよ。出たいでしょ。出てこい、人殺し。
Tears began to fall from my eyes. I lost all will to resist. All remaining strength left my body. I was so tired. Why? Why did I have to deal with this psycho? Why did I have to listen to all the bullshit she spewed at me? What had I done to deserve this? This was just too much. All because this delusional stalker had come to the wrong conclusion, and now no one would save me. Was I going to die? By her hands? Even if I didn't, even if I made it through today, there'd be no guarantee I'd survive tomorrow. Shogun could still show up at any time. Would I have to live the rest of my life in fear? Please, I didn't want that. I didn't want to live like that. I'd rather go insane and then get locked up in some mental facility somewhere. I'd rather die right here, right now.
どうして泣くの？
Yua slowly began to remove her hand from my mouth, and then she started lifting herself off me. As soon as her weight was completely off, I felt instant relief.
将軍が出てきたの？
I shook my head lifelessly.
うざりなんだ。いっそ殺せ。
殺さない。私が殺させない。あなたは罪を償うべきなのよ。そして真実を語るべき。死んで逃げることは許さない。許さないわ。許すわけにはいかないの。
将軍は別にいる。ニュージェネの犯人はそいつだよ。
将軍はあなたよ。あなたなの。あなたしか考えられない。
You do realize, I mean, there's, you know, never mind. My words had gone in one ear and out the other. She refused to listen to me. She was completely convinced that she knew the truth. Suer's fault. There was no point resisting.
将軍、出てきて。出てきてよ。出てきてって言ってるでしょ。どうして出てこないの？あなたがそこにいるのは分かってるのよ。絶対に将軍を引き出してみせるわ。
That's tad scary.
私は諦めないから。それまで絶対に逃がさないから。
Suddenly, Yua stood up and went to close the open container door. She slowly picked the padlock padlock off the floor and used it to lock the door shut. And then she stashed the key in the pocket of her uniform. Why was she doing this? What was she thinking?
逃がさないから。
Okay, can I just unironically say I fucking love this pose of her? A faint murmur spoken to no one but herself, one that chilled me to the bone. Finally! A good route!